Hello, everyone. Welcome to Blockchain Value. This is a place where we explore this amazing new technology and what it brings to the table, how it will change our lives. I talk to people who are building this technology as we speak. I also talk to people who support the builders because people who support the builders have a huge important role in making sure that this ecosystem is being built well, and in the end, we can all benefit. As you may know, I have not been doing it for maybe a few weeks. I've been traveling. October has been a really, really busy month. So I was not able to do it, but we'll have more of blockchain value conversations in the coming weeks. So definitely stay tuned. It is here to stay. I'm very passionate about this topic. Um, Two things before we begin. The in-flight instructions are: if you have any questions, be part of the conversation, ask questions. What I know for sure is that you will get out so much more out of the conversation when you're engaged, when you're asking questions, when you're part of it. And two, as I said, I interview builders and people who are supporting builders. If you have recommendations of who we can collectively learn from and with, definitely let me know. A good place to put your suggestion is in the comments here or DM me. I look forward to your recommendations. With that in mind, I have a fantastic guest today. Amanda, welcome to Blockchain Value. I'm so excited about this conversation. I know we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, which is why we went 1 minute late.
Yeah.
But the show doesn't start without us. So we are here. The show has started. Please introduce yourself and tell folks who you are.
Yes. Hi, Olga. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here. Apologies for the technical difficulties. My name is Amanda Wick. I am the founder of the Association for Women in Cryptocurrency. And I'm very excited to be here and hopefully to answer any questions that folks have.
Awesome. Amanda, before you started this adventure, which is really exciting, and we definitely got to get in what it is, tell us how did you get to it? What were you doing before?
Yeah, it's feels like a long path. Um, I tell people I'm a lot older than I look. I was a federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice for about a decade. I was in my office and an agent came in and asked if I knew what a Bitcoin was, and that got me into cryptocurrency money laundering cases. I did that for several years at the Department of Justice. And then I went to FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network at the Department of Treasury, where I was a senior policy advisor. And then after that, I went to Chainalysis, a blockchain analytics company, and was their chief of legal affairs. And then I just finished a year working as senior investigative counsel on the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack. And now I started a nonprofit to help all of the amazing women that I met in crypto along my journey.
Oh my God. You sound like a total underachiever. Somewhere between DOJ and FinCEN and being a head of legal. I think you have enough cred. I don't
The story of what happened before DOJ was a bumpy road that's for a longer conversation someday over drinks. So trust me, it wasn't an easy start, but it's been a really good ride.
Amanda, I just got an invitation to have drinks with a former federal prosecutor. I'm game. If you're game, I'm game. Let's do it one day. And I don't even drink, but for you, I'll drink. That sounds great. Let's do it. Um, let's talk about your current adventure. How I get it. There's a lot of interest in blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and clearly, you're the woman to do it because you actually been on the regulator side of it, and I understand these technologies and laws as they're developing. But the adventure you're doing right now is different. That's more of a public service and an educational component. So tell us what you're building now, and most importantly, why and how.
Yeah, so what we're building is a global network of professional women and male allies around the world who are in crypto, who believe in advocating for more inclusion of women in the future of digital finance. So we have women from all sectors of the crypto ecosystem. And we do educational programming, networking opportunities, everything that we can do to build a network that reaches out to people to ensure that women are included in the future of digital finance. When I was at Chainalysis, when I got out of the government, I saw kind of how women were treated in tech and especially in crypto. And that crypto bro culture kind of has been holding on for a little too long. And we are building something as we're flying it. And we have the ability with digital finance and the future of digital finance to build it better than we did with traditional finance and to make it more inclusive. And that's what the association is all about.
Oh, I love it. So let's maybe start in the beginning to make sure that everyone is coming with us on this journey and in this discussion. So for anyone who may be unfamiliar or new to this or can benefit from refresher, I can always benefit from refresher. What is cryptocurrency and what is the opportunities today?
Oh gosh. Well, cryptocurrency technically is obviously a form of digital asset that's based on cryptography. And that's important because sometimes people think that cryptocurrency is also blockchain technology, and those are separate. Our association is not limited to people in crypto. We have women in crypto, we have women in blockchain, we have women in Web3. But generally, when people say crypto, it can be this unintentional catch all when technically cryptocurrency is a very specific type of digital asset that's created from cryptography. And I tell people if you're asking a lawyer to get into the technical details, you're getting into dangerous waters. I know enough to be dangerous from the last several years. But the technical aspect is one of the ones that I find most interesting and most challenging because it's changing every day. Keeping up in crypto is harder than anything that I've ever done in my career because it changes so much so fast and a new thing is coming out and a new technology is being invented. And whether it's distributed ledger technology, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, stable coins, all of these things are kind of like the ecosystem of digital assets. Many people would say they're the future of digital finance.
We have a few folks joining us, so I'm gonna give them a shout out. Maria, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Lynn, sorry we were a little late. I know you were a little concerned, but we're here and you're organizing events. I want to make sure folks are seeing it and a part of it, and maybe that's an opportunity for you and Amanda get to know each other and collaborate if you're not doing it already. And then Allison, thank you for saying hello. I know this is end of day for you in UK and many others. Say hello. Would love to give you a shout out. And if you have any questions, definitely ask. As you said, the ecosystem is very much developing. There's a lot of things going on. I like to point out to folks when we talk about blockchain, we're really actually talking about blockchains plural. This technology is here to stay. What's not clear is which ones and in what capacity and in what industry. But it is pretty clear that this industry is here to stay. And if you need confirmation, go read President Biden's executive order. That is as clear of a confirmation that this technology is here to stay in the near future. I thought it was very interesting, and I see the enthusiasm, Amanda, around you've been a prosecutor, you've been in private sector, now you're doing public service in terms of education and building a network. You clearly think there is an opportunity there. You don't need President Biden's confirmation. You have a conviction there. Just curious, as as you see this opportunity and want to include women and frankly all professionals in it, how would you articulate, what is the opportunities? What is the size? Why is it a big deal?
Yeah, I think something that you said that's really important is that crypto is here to stay. And I tell people our association is not it's not meant to advocate for crypto. that it's, the solution to the future, or a specific cryptocurrency, or to your point, a specific blockchain, as there are many. But the point that's really important is that whatever ends up happening with this, Pandora's box has been opened and we can't put it back in. So even at a minimum, I tell people, like, if crypto suddenly tomorrow, people are like, oh, as it turns out, this is a fad, we're not going to use this, and this $1 trillion market just disappeared. What wouldn't disappear is the illicit use in crypto, because as even though the rate of illicit use has fallen, as a percentage of overall use, there will always be illicit use in crypto. Certain crimes like ransomware, cyber attacks, like
Amanda, there will
you
be
will
illicit use of any technology,
exactly,
including internet. So,
exactly,
but yes,
exactly.
go on. Sorry.
No, but it's such a good point, because if somebody had said, like, nobody's going to need to use the internet if it fails, it's like, no, there's always going to be some use for it. To your point, like, legitimate things can be misused. But the reason why there's so much opportunity in crypto is because right now there aren't enough people who know this stuff very well, especially when it comes to investigators for either law enforcement, either private or public sector, and in compliance. So you have exchanges that need to do AML, BSA, and they need people who understand crypto, can trace it, can run a compliance program, the crypto version. And these fields have massive demand and very low supply. So generally, women tend to benefit, especially coming out of, a wage gap and the horror that COVID did to women generally in terms of careers, expanding the pay gap, et cetera. Women benefit from fields where there's high demand and lower supply, and that generally leads to better wages and better opportunities. So right now there's a huge opportunity here that if we can get women into crypto, investigating, learning it, compliance positions, there's so many jobs out there and not enough people to fill them, and that's where you want people to be in demand. So that's the kind of opportunity that we think of. I don't tell people to invest in anything particularly, but this industry has career opportunities right now that are, at time, it's like a tipping point that is very good for women.
Yeah, we absolutely do not tell people to invest. This is not legal advice, and most importantly, not financial advice. Um, uh, this is just for entertainment, educational value, and any discussions of money or laws are purely for joy. So, if you can bear with that, that would be great. Look, I mean, some people have said that crypto and blockchain is really everything you don't understand about technology, finance, and law, which makes this field super complicated. And if you've been tracking the rise of privacy, which I have been since I went to law school, this is kind of an opportunity of actually greater proportion. And fun fact, my opportunities as a professional have been highly correlated with my ability to understand privacy before it was cool, and be part of the growing field. So if you want to have a tip from me, if you care, I completely agree with Amanda. Being the first and the one who builds and the one who helps to shape regulations and legislation and be part of the peer groups is definitely a powerful place. You mentioned a couple of things. After you were a prosecutor, federal prosecutor, you went to private sector, and you probably noticed the bro culture even as a federal prosecutor. But I'm sure you felt it, you saw it in private sector. I mean, I was full time in blockchain a few jobs ago, and I have to say it was really hard to miss. I don't think much have changed, but I'm just curious. What exactly when we refer to the bro culture in blockchain crypto, like what is that, and what is the problem with having it?
So I think it's a tough question, because I think it's a spectrum, right? Bro culture isn't just one thing. I think, you can watch videos. I think you can actually look on YouTube and type in crypto bros, and you can see videos of kind of like this culture of guys that are very kind of like, oh, buy this coin, buy that coin. And there's like a extreme crypto enthusiast. And I don't want to make generalizations, but you can find plenty of kind of like examples of crypto bro culture. But like, as you slide down that spectrum in terms of what's exclusionary, there's like the unintentional aspect of that, which is that people people don't realize that if the people that you know who are subject matter experts tend to be men, then when conferences come around, when speaking opportunities come around, you just by nature tend to kind of like refer your friends and the people you know. So for years, we kind of saw the same faces at a lot of crypto conferences. And even the women tended to be like a small group of like the women to know in crypto, as if there weren't tons of women that were doing this work, that were getting into this field, that were crossing over from traditional finance, from compliance. And in order to be more inclusive, you have to be intentional about it. So crypto bro culture is kind of like a catchphrase, but it includes a lot of things. And I think one of the things that our association is focusing on is that intentional inclusivity, working with conference planners, working with anybody. Like people have been so supportive and they say, well, how can we help? And I'm like, intentionally include a woman, intentionally invite a woman to speak, intentionally have a woman participate. It seems like such a small thing, but when male allies realize, oh, that's not a big ask. I'm like, and yet look at your last mantle. That was all men. And it wasn't intentional. They just didn't think about it. They took recommendations and they throw people up. So like, I've become, I think, a little more militant over the last few years about the fact that to fix this, we really have to be a lot more intentional and a lot more kind of like in people's face about it, recognizing when people do it right, when conferences are diverse, when opportunities are inclusive, and then frankly calling people out when they're not. And we can do better and we need to do better.
Yeah, I've got the only thing I will add to that is that you can be a male ally at every level of your career. I've certainly benefited from that. Yes, definitely. If you're a person in power, you have a lot of ability to hire folks on your team who are, representative of the population. But also, as somebody who's on the team, if somebody above you is hired, you have a lot to say as well. Being a male ally or ally generally is something that could happen to you, that you can consciously do at every stage of your career. Because I think this point is lost. People think that you have to be an executive or a CEO to do that. You can be a male ally at every stage of your career. We have a great question. This is a big question. I'm going to flash it for a second, but then I will summarize it from Mariette. Sometimes when folks are hiring, they're looking for experience as opposed to potential. I'm somebody who actually refuses to do the jobs I've done before. I love being hired on potential. That is to say, I like getting jobs that I don't deserve, and that's how I grow. But what I see in new fields is that people want the one person who's experienced, and there's a very finite number of people who are. And by definition, in a new field, you will likely need to hire somebody who hasn't done it before, who will be learning and growing with the field. So, Amanda, I believe you likely believe in that as well. That I'm just curious, if someone asks you, how do you hire somebody who haven't done it before? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so there were so many good nuggets in what you just said. The first thing is that is a real problem because you see this like shuffle of the same people kind of moving around, especially places that want somebody who's done it before. People are just it's literally the same pool of people unless you introduce new people and give them the chance. The one thing I will say is people have to kind of change their mindset about quote never having done it before. Yes, blockchain is a new technology, but investigations are not new. Compliance is not new. All of the underlying skill sets, like when I went to the private sector, I remember my CRO saying something along the lines of, well, what do you know about sales? And I was like, what are you talking about? I just spent a decade selling my version of facts to 12 people that beat the other guys. All I've been doing is selling for a decade, right? Because not that I was in sales as a prosecutor, but the important thing is the skill set, that if I believe in something, my ability to convey it to another person and bring them around to my opinion is effectively sales. So sometimes when people are writing up their resumes, and I had a really good resume coach, Tahira Dasani, I can't recommend her enough, but she helped me take like my Gov resume and translate it and take it down to kind of like almost like the studs of a house and say, forget the windows, forget everything else. what did you do that translates in? It's the same exact skill. And I think people should think of it that way, is maybe you haven't done compliance in crypto, but you've done compliance, and the Bank Secrecy Act is the Bank Secrecy Act. So, you know, if you have those skill sets, judgment, diligence, attention to detail, all of the things that really matter, if it's a good employer that you want to work for, they should know that, and they should be looking for skill sets and not just blind adherence to, did you do this exact job before?
Yeah, hard skills are yours. They're yours to keep. Definitely lead with that. I also find that in the new field, it's helpful to have enthusiasm for learning. It's one of those things that the flexibility and open mind will take you a long way. There are folks in privacy who have IP background who did well, and there are people who've never done it before and literally just entered, who are leading and drafting all the CCPA, GDPR for the last 15 years. So I
Yeah.
find that drive, that what I call naked ambition, is something that is very strong and will propel you forward.
It's interesting that way, in that oftentimes, like in your cover letter, your interest and enthusiasm for crypto can go a long way, because like a lot of the investigators I know, the way they got into crypto wasn't that their boss came in and said, learn this. They were curious, they taught themselves, they traced things. I know people who are in tax that were like, what is this new thing? And that intellectual curiosity and that interest in the field, I can't tell you the number of employers that I've heard that are like, if they're interested in this, we can teach them the new parts, but they have to really want to do crypto. It can't just be somebody who's like, oh, this sounds like the next new thing. That's great. Maybe they'll pay me more. When
Yeah.
you put into a cover letter your interest and your enthusiasm for crypto in this industry, that tends to translate, because it goes a long way towards the enthusiasm that companies are looking for, to then build from that in teaching whatever new skills you might need.
It is a difficult enough industry that enthusiasm really will propel you forward. Fun fact: a few more jobs ago, I interviewed with a dating company, which I joined as a number two lawyer, and the product leader at the time said, "Well, Olga, you are clearly married with two kids. What do you have to bring to the dating company that would be helpful?" And I said, "You know what? I know how to find a date and close it. And I think I can teach you all about it."
And
In
I,
the
I will tell you, as somebody who's been on those dating apps, you could have said, having not used the apps, I don't loathe, hate them, and never want to use them. So I'm starting from a better position than most people who have used them.
I'm just saying there are many ways to be qualified, and it doesn't matter whether you start a privacy, a dating app, or crypto. Your enthusiasm, your experiences, your network will propel you forward if you know how to discuss it. That's all I'm saying. Just use all you
That's
got.
exactly right. That's exactly right.
And if you don't have the hard experiences, you have enthusiasm. If you don't have enthusiasm, you have life experiences. Like, you have an array of things that can help you get hired should you want it. Use what you've got. Let's talk about barriers. We started this discussion for women and barriers, and we have a few more questions. So I want to make sure we kind of really explore what barriers are there, and what are sort of practical ways to overcome them.
Yeah, so I think one of the barriers is, as we've talked about, like crypto can be complicated and new. So getting educated in this space, like what is cryptocurrency, can actually be a little bit harder than it seems. So you can have all this enthusiasm, and then you're kind of overwhelmed with, well, where do I even begin? There are some companies that offer trainings, but they tend to be kind of expensive. I think there's discussions in the industry, because we're not building crypto investigators fast enough. Like we don't have enough people who know this, about how do we make more people crypto literate fast enough. And there's a lot of companies that are working on curated content that is so helpful and is so well done, but there is a cost to it. So having said that, if you don't have the funds, right, to spend on some of the training companies that can do a fundamentals course or to teach you how to trace, and they can be expensive, just like an ACAM certification, right? Like those kinds of things, those certifications can cost a lot of money, but you can find it for free online, and you can still do it yourself. But the barrier is time. Like it just takes you more time. So on one side of the spectrum, you have kind of like the technological, like learning hurdles, that with obviously more resources and funds, you can get training pretty easily. And then on the other side, it's, but if you don't have the income, how do you find the training? And I think there are more and more places. I know my old company, Chainalysis, started an academy that is free that people can go online. I think Coinbase and a number of the other exchanges, Gemini maybe, have some programs where I think when you open wallet, they used to offer like funds if you learned and watched videos. But uh, crypto literacy and education is such a problem for the industry that it used to be that you couldn't find enough educational materials, and now it's almost a deluge of, oh my gosh, where do I even start? So it can be kind of like a double-edged sword of like one of the barriers being the educational component, and then the other being, okay, I see all this education, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Lynn, I suggested that in addition to male allies, you need women supporting women. Absolutely. I don't think there is a disagreement. Those are not mutually exclusive things. They're actually, in fact, go hand in hand. There's a really robust conversation here that everything could be Googled or YouTube. Absolutely. And I think this is what
That
Amanda
is so
referring to.
true.
That is true, right? The problem
We
here
called it
is
university. Yeah.
curation, right? There is a lot of information now. You can definitely find everything on the internet now for a long time. The curation, right? The source, the credibility, whether it's actually true. This is where you have to be careful. Sometimes going with a third party that is credible solve this for you. Of course, the challenge is that you have to pay for it, and sometimes that's a good way to ask an employer to do this for you. Um, and help you get there. And sometimes you can just do it yourself, but you just have to really analyze the source. um, we are coming to the end, so I have a few more questions. I want to make sure that we talk about the sort of the size of the opportunity. What is the opportunity? What is the greatest? What is the top three opportunities if you were to focus your energy in this really, really complicated, content full blockchain crypto world? Where would you focus? Which opportunities?
Okay, so that's a hard question. There are so many opportunities. I
I
think
never said
block
I'm gonna be easy, because
yeah,
that is just
and I
not
don't
becoming on a lady to be easy.
my mom said that all the time growing up. So I'd have to say, I personally feel, this is just my opinion, but I feel like the biggest opportunities right now are in investigations and in compliance. In the public sector, especially, they can't grow investigators who can do this work fast enough. And a lot of the federal agencies, as you mentioned, we've got the executive order. A lot of federal agencies are looking at this now. I think FinCEN may have even posted some spots for crypto enforcement officers. But you have a lot of agencies in the future that are going to be hiring. And unfortunately, there was a brain drain where the private sector kind of took a lot of the government people, and we're not filling that gap fast enough. But there are a lot of private industry investigations jobs. Like some of the blockchain analytics companies have entire teams of investigators that then work and support of public and private sector clients. So I put investigations and crypto tracing in a bucket, and then the other bucket is compliance, like especially people who have traditional kind of BSA AML backgrounds. If they can learn how crypto compliance is different and the software, and learning about indirect and direct exposure, and taking like the pillars of knowledge from BSA AML work and translating it into crypto. I was on a panel a couple months ago where a gentleman from UAE was talking about how there's just this dearth of people who for crypto compliance, and I was like, it is apparently global. So when you have a global deficit of people who are qualified, that tends to be where there's a lot of opportunity. So my two biggest, I would say, is investigations and compliance. I think and just tracing crypto is probably one of the hardest skills to learn, and it makes you the most marketable if you actually learn how to do it.
If you haven't heard global deficit, I'm going to repeat it again, because that is a global deficit of talented people like you. So if you
Oh,
if the,
don't get me wrong. Even I'm not like the level of tracing that some of these folks do. I know enough to be dangerous, but if you can get to the level that some of these investigators are at, I mean, they get poached constantly because there's just not enough of them.
Yeah, no, that's true. Global deficit of a talent, enthusiastic talent, intelligent talent. I hear compliance. I hear someone who has law degree that could be helpful. I also hear somebody who has technology, finance, or pure enthusiasm to be helpful. Um, Global deficit of talent in this area is definitely a real thing, and I hear it every time I talk to a professional in the field. Amanda, this has been a great conversation, and you and I can talk all day. We clearly have a mutual love for crypto and blockchain technology, and we have to end this. So I'm gonna ask you to maybe one, say goodbye, and two, uh, give one or two reasons why and how. The most importantly, how you should get involved in learning and considering opportunities in blockchain and crypto today?
Yeah, cool. So I think what I would say is, the reason that we started the association was to quote somebody who like threw something in the comments that can't be said enough. Women need to support other women. It's so important. We network differently. We get so much out of it. And our association isn't just about women supporting other women. It's about reaching out and figuring out how do we get the rest of the world to want to support women to get to equality and inclusivity. And our association is obviously a place that we would love for people to come. But if that's not up your alley, if that's like too much, reach out to somebody in crypto. I don't know a single person who isn't enthusiastic. I get people on LinkedIn connecting with me and messaging me. Shoot me a message. Tell me that you saw this, that you saw Olga's show. I'm happy to connect with people, especially women. You have questions, you want to talk to somebody in a certain field. If I know somebody, I'm happy to connect you with somebody who might be interested in something that you're interested in. I would just say you are only limited by your willingness to reach out and take a chance that somebody else will help you. But if you do not ask for somebody to help you, you will never get help. So I think that's the takeaway I would say is the worst thing that somebody could say is no. And that's nothing in the grand scheme of life. So reach out. Like if you're curious and you want to make moves, you want to learn more, you want to have a virtual coffee with me, somebody I know, like just ask. The worst thing is somebody could say no. The best thing is somebody could say yes and end up helping change the trajectory of your career.
Yeah, the best answer is a yes. The second best answer is a no. That just means next opportunity. And you move forward with your life and you find your tribe. Amanda, this has been great. Thank you for this enthusiastic conversation and practical tips. Thank you, audience, for joining and being part of the conversation. I am so glad we've been able to do this episode, and thank you for recommending Amanda to be part of the show. As you know, these conversations are possible through your recommendations. So if you know someone, and Lynn, I see you, I think you could be a great guest. So I'm going to give you a public invitation to join or nominate somebody who joins who can teach us about blockchain and crypto. Let me know. This is a great place to post. And yes, you can DM me as well. I eventually get to all my messages. Sometimes it just takes me a little bit long. I heard a lot of great things today. One about male allies and the fact that you can be one at every stage of your career. Two, Lynn correctly pointed out, and Amanda definitely supported, women supporting women is a big thing. And three, for me, if you haven't heard the term, the global deficit of talent in blockchain crypto, you now heard it. And I repeated it now 5 times, I think at least. It's real, the opportunity is there, and you can absolutely get the benefit of it during your career. Thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure to be back. We will definitely be back next week. And in the meantime, reach out, give me any recommendations how we can continue learning this amazing technology together. Thank you so much and see you next week. Bye, everyone.